Representative.
Adam, Aaron, you want to introduce yourselves?
Adam Wright, sub-base liaison.
Aaron Brooks, Groton Utilities.
Great. I do not know of any public communications anyone asked to be on the call. Is that true, Lauren?
There's nobody that I'm aware of.
Okay, so we're going to move on to the approval of the minutes. I did bring up to Lauren, and she did catch it, but I didn't see the revision on it, where I had asked on the annual report, she has Groves asked McBride, and actually I asked Maturk to field emails from commissioners. That was the only correction I saw in the minutes. Anyone else find anything?
No,
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes.
I make a motion.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Okay, keep it for old business. I just want to bring up, because part of it, the one thing that we did go over, we had in the package from last month was the bylaws. I reviewed them. There was nothing in there that I saw that needed to be changed, but I leave it to the rest of the commission to see if there's anything in there they wanted addressed or added or changed, whatever it might be. As I said, I didn't see anything.
I don't have it in front of me, but I just wanted to double check. So when we were on our last meeting, we were talking about that. And I think there was some confusion, or maybe it was Leanne was confused by the fact that we could, a president or chair could run multiple terms if reelected each time. So I just want to make sure the language is in there that that the president, chair could in fact continue multiple years.
I didn't see that actually spelled out, Susan, but I wasn't here beforehand, and I'll tell you the truth, Paige, and when we had our meeting, we didn't have a meeting this month, which we usually do pre. Was something removed? Was that something in there before that might have stated that you could only do the 1 year? I don't know. It might have been removed last time, Paige.
I don't recall which year, but it was changed
Okay.
to allow for more than 1 year. There was a bylaw change. I'm going to say maybe two, 3
years
years
ago?
ago.
Okay, I thought so, but I unfortunately didn't have a chance to revisit the bylaws before the meeting tonight. But I believe you're correct, Paige. So that's fine. Thank you.
Yeah, my assumption is there was something in there saying that it wasn't allowed, it was only allowed to be 1 year, and it was probably just removed because I didn't see any reference to term limit on it, to tell you the truth.
Okay,
true?
perfect. Yeah,
Did I
I
read
think,
that right, Paige?
Yes, at the last meeting, if that's where the discussion occurred, I
Yeah.
did look at the bylaws at that time and verified. I do not have them in front of me either, but I verified that there is no limit
Right.
to a 1 year term.
okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we just, every year you just kind of do the same thing. We have you put a forward a nomination and whatever want to do, and then you have the option to decline it or not. So,
That's perfect, as it should be. That's great.
so since we don't have the full commission on board, and I don't believe we need to vote on the bylaws to accept them as is, or actually do anything on them, if I'm correct. But I will leave that till the January meeting, just in case there's something else that comes up, just out of fairness to the rest of the commissioners. And I'll make sure Lauren gets that out before our next meeting, that if someone wants to visit anything in it, but I just wanted to bring that back from old business.
So Bill, are you saying that we have a quorum tonight? You're just saying that just to have the rest of the commission weigh in as a
Yeah.
full commission? Okay,
I don't
All right.
think we have to, I don't think we have to do anything on them. You know,
Okay.
we can change them if we want, but I think they are what they are at this point in time. But just
Okay.
so if anyone has feedback or thing, just give them that opportunity.
okay.
Also on old business for the business outreach, it's something that was sent over to me from my page. And also, so we got into it. Basically, it's a service that's been done in the old Saybrook area, so the other side of the Connecticut River, kind of in the lines of the for restaurants where they had, I know there are a couple services out there that provide delivery and such like that for businesses, restaurants in particular, to sign up for. And it looked like something that we might want to entertain and get behind, not necessarily to be promoters of, but it's really to do whatever we can for what I see, and I'm sure Justin's going to chime in because I want him to speak to it. The restaurants really are hurting in this phase. I mean, now that the weather's changed outside, they can't have the outside dining, and people are not frequenting the restaurants. So they're depending upon their takeout would be my thought process on it from the ones I've spoken to. So I wanted to put it on the agenda. It wasn't included before, but it still goes with our business outreach. But I wanted Justin I know that Justin and Sam had conversation on it, and to see what his thoughts were on it, if he had any feedback from people that have used the service, and maybe what we can do to get behind it. So Justin?
Bill, well, I talked to some people today. I looked at their website, and I also talked to Paige earlier. I talked to 2 people that use it, and I was waiting to hear back from a 3rd person who uses it. She has not called me back. One of the owners who uses this service, who's been in business for 42 years, said it was the best decision he has made during COVID. And it's basically a Grubhub, DoorDash, Uber Eats, but it's locally owned. It's out of Old Saybrook. The platform they use is wonderful. They say it's so easy to use. It's the same as anyone else, basically. The same type of platform. But both of them had said when they have an issue, you call and you talk to someone local. And the only person I talked to who doesn't use it, I was seeing if people in town were interested, was Daniel Packerin. And she's like, I've given up on Grubhub and DoorDash and Uber Eats because if I have a problem, I end up speaking to someone in India. Here, you speak to someone in Old Saybrook. So it's not just locally owned. It's like everyone who works for the business is right here and speaks English as their first language, which, not to sound racist anyway, I mean, 90% of my employees, English is not their first language.
Let me give you, this is what was sent over to me, and that's why I always am very hesitant as a commission or whatever, that we get behind a product or a person, whatever, but we really need to do whatever we can for the restaurants that we're looking at this point. So this is just to give everyone the basis of it. They work currently with 60 restaurants: Old Saybrook, Old Lyme, Essex, Chester, Westbrook, and Clinton.
And they move into Brantford.
Okay. They're looking to expand to our area. They do have the platform, and they're also much more cost.
Their commission is so much
Yeah.
lower than.
So there's a cost benefit to it also, and just understanding how the larger corporations do outsource their customer service and such like that. It's basically a local presence.
Yes.
I guess my main topic of this would be, okay, how do we get behind this and how do we get it out? And that's where I'm gonna put it to Paige. So go ahead.
So Sam and I talked about this a little bit, and Justin has had some ideas on maybe how we get behind this. You know, the sensitivities as well. We've never promoted one company, and that's one sensitivity. but we are collaborators. You know, we go out and do business outreach, and we're looking for solutions to problems for business. And they approached us, and well, indirectly, I think maybe one potential role for the EDC and the town is that we can facilitate the sharing of this information. We're not telling a business, you should do this, but maybe we could facilitate an opportunity to educate them about this other company. Justin could potentially reach out to a few and say, hey, does this seem reasonable? If we have some understanding that there might be some interest, then maybe we hold a Zoom meeting kind of in line with the outreach and the education that we were working on. We hold a Zoom meeting and allow any businesses, restaurateurs who care to hear this information to hear it firsthand at one time, and that might help some of these businesses come together. One of the things I had discussed with Justin, it's very important that we get businesses that are close to one another, proximity, to partner, because it's about sharing. You're going to have a delivery driver who might represent multiple restaurants. They might deliver this restaurant, and then they might a half hour later pick up a delivery across the street. In order for this to work, you need some synergies. So it won't work just with one restaurant. So maybe the role is we facilitate a discussion with businesses who might be interested, and they can hear firsthand from this company.
We have the emails of all the businesses that were that we visited, correct? I mean, that was except maybe I didn't do that, but is that one means of communication to disseminate information and perhaps get a Zoom for businesses to participate in? Is that what you're suggesting?
So Susan, talking to Paige this morning, my suggestion was, he's like, should we do a preliminary Zoom meeting to talk to all the restaurant owners and figure out who might be interested? I was like, no, we have everyone's email. Send out a mass email and see if they're interested. If they're interested, then we do a Zoom meeting with the company for all the restaurants.
And it might be worth too. I mean, emails, I get thousands of emails, and it might be a good idea if we have some other means of communication.
Oh, face to face,
or even a phone number, anything.
Yeah.
I think if the email is just not good enough, because I think people it's easy to ignore. I'm just thinking that maybe just 2 touches would be better than just 1 touch.
like I talked to Allie at Daniel Packer Inn. She's the owner. She's like, can you send it to me in an email? I was like, yeah, well, that's what we're planning on doing. I went to Christopher's right next to us. I was like, Chris, is this something you'd be interested in? He's like, yeah, I just need more information. So there's interest out
Sure.
there. They've
Sure.
all been burned by the major companies.
Right.
Everyone's had issues with the major companies.
So
Yeah.
I'm behind that aspect of doing a Zoom, and the one suggestion I would make is let's do a earlier, like a Justin disagree or whatever, is to try to do something a little earlier, because I know that the evenings don't work for restaurants, and so
If we do it, Bill, if we do it early in the week, Monday or Tuesday, that's when restaurant
and
owners
how
are
about like at
available.
10 or 11 o'clock in the morning as opposed to the afternoon? I mean, is there a better time?
No. 3 o'clock's usually good.
Okay, that's what I was saying. Just try to get a time where it's actually, we know it's early in the week, but
Either 3 or 5, but do it Monday or Tuesday Monday or Tuesday at 5 o'clock is fine. A lot of
Okay.
restaurants are closed on Mondays.
yep. And then another aspect I'd
Or
like
they're dead.
to employ on this, and we've kind of lost representation a little bit here, is to reach out to the chambers. They also are a good way of promoting or saying, is there going to be interest on something like this? Mystic Main Street is a key one because there's a good majority of the restaurants right there, but also we used to have Al, that was the Groton portion of the chamber that was very good on that. And I know that he's kind of taken sabbatical from those things, but to reach out and just see if they can do some promotion on it also, because the more, the better. And as I said, we're not here to promote a product or a service, but it's more to get the word out is that this might be a benefit to you. It's local. It's something that they've had some success with in other areas of the state. And we're trying to make you aware of it. And that's really what it is. No promotion whatsoever.
So yeah, Bill, I'm curious just because I don't know the ground rules on this. Is it okay for us to pitch one product or introduce one product as a town commission?
As I said, I'm not endorsing anything. And as the commission, we would not be endorsing anything.
You're just merely an introduction.
What all we're trying to do is, hey, this was approached to us, and the best avenue we have for you guys to ask the questions and get you in contact is this way. You as a business have to make your own decisions. I can't get behind it one way or another.
It's disseminating information, basically.
Okay.
Craig,
I want to make sure we're above board. That's all.
Yeah, we're not promoting anything. Craig, it looks like you have something to say, so.
I'm just wondering, on the same subject, should we be just going to the chamber and putting it in front of them? Because that is one of the things that a chamber does, is to connect business to business. I mean, why?
I want to go to the chamber, but as another aspect of it, but I think we have to take the lead. Go ahead, Paige.
I was just going to comment, both the chambers have been significantly impacted by COVID. There have been layoffs by the Eastern Chamber. They're at a skeleton crew. And then recently,
And then Peggy quit or something? Peggy, is it?
yeah,
Peggy?
the executive director or the president of the Mystic Chamber
Yeah,
has resigned. Bruce
she
Flack,
resigned.
as the chair, is now the interim president on a part-time basis. So they have very limited capabilities,
Yeah.
but I do think we should collaborate with them, partner with them. I think all together we could get the word out, and the more the merrier. People want to jump on the call.
I agree.
It takes a village.
Yeah. I mean, I agree where you're coming from, Craig, and I'm going to reach out. I'll reach out to Bruce, and let's try to bring as many players into it. I'm just trying to get some information out to people, and I think we really do have to take the lead because we have that resource in the Zoom meeting and such. So,
Also want to make sure that we can connect to the Stonington side of the river. I mean, downtown Mystic sort of functions as one.
well, it would be actually, because if we go through the Mystic Chamber, they are part of, in the Main Street, they're part of Stonington also. I mean,
Right.
I'm not trying to keep the information in. So,
And Craig, my feeling is if we get enough people to sign up for it, they're going to jump in and hit the ground running. Like, if I just signed up for this service and I'm the only restaurant in Groton, they're going to be like, yeah, we're not going to do that. But if we have 10, 12 restaurants over here and the Stonington side of Mystic doing the service, they'll be like, yeah, we'll hire drivers for that.
yeah, the broader the approach to it, the more it's better for everybody. You know,
Yeah.
more drivers,
So
more
as long-
service.
if-
So yeah, I
we
agree
get a
with you,
bunch
Craig,
of
completely.
people-
This should not be just I mean, we look after Groton, but we should be as inclusive as possible on it.
And one other
Absolutely.
question of a contact, given Dan Miser's role in the state on restaurants, should we be bringing him in sooner?
Well, no, my wife just mentioned you should call Dan. I'll give Dan a call.
The
Okay.
more outreach we can do and the more partnering we can do, that's what the whole exercise is really, let's try to bring this all together. And we'll be the conduit for it. Not this, we're not promoting,
Yeah.
we'll be the conduit. So I think it's a good thing for us to be doing. Any little thing we can do, we got to be addressing. That's how I look at it at this point in time.
And Craig, the great thing about this company is they're local. The money stays local. It's not going to Silicon Valley.
Sure.
And that's something Dan's all about. is
But now
keeping the
you're
money
pitching
local.
it, Justin. You're pitching the product. Stop pitching it. It's let them
I'm
make.
not pitching it. I'm sorry.
That's a sales pitch I would use. So great
I'm trying
idea.
not to pitch it.
So Justin, I'm gonna have you kind of head up as the point person with that. I will reach out
Yeah.
to Bruce and whatever. Let's try to get emails out and whatever avenues to see what the interest is. We'll fixate on a Monday or a Tuesday, maybe earlier in the afternoon if Monday's the best. And go from go from there. Dave McBride actually last meeting brought up something is bringing back the cards and the thing to try to support. So any little thing we can kind of address in our world, I think we should be looking at. And I think these are really different approaches that we got to get behind on.
No, because I'm so positive about it.
I have to share, I was in Newport over Thanksgiving, don't tell anybody. And I went for a walk, don't tell anybody that either, with the mask. I went to the Goat Island, and they had outside, they had these pods, and I'm having, hopefully Lauren send it. They got little chandeliers, they've got tables, you can't see, can you see? I don't know if you can see it, but they've got
Little igloos.
they're like a little igloo, and they've got a table of for four, and they have a little, like I said, little chandeliers, and they have little what do you call it, lanterns outside. I mean, I don't know if it's warm or how they work that out, but I'm sure it's very expensive, but I thought that was pretty classy looking and very creative. I mean, I just wish we could do something locally, not necessarily to that magnitude, but something where it creates that little kind of pod or something to, have an outside experience still.
I want to go to David first. David had his hand up before, and I'll go right to you afterwards. Thank you.
Yeah,
David.
yeah, just a comment from what I'm hearing. I'm just questioning whether or not we could potentially have, let's say, similar to the plastic ordinance meeting, where you had one meeting where the importance, and I guess the focus of the meeting would be, or the conference, whatever it is, to push delivery, because that's what we're talking about, right?
Right.
Pushing delivery too, because I can tell you as a restaurant person too, delivery is, they don't make it easy. It's costly. It's a pain. A lot of people don't do it. So I'm wondering if we could consider having a meeting or, a one-day a seminar for an hour or hour and a half or whatever it may be, where you have the different opportunities come in and present, or you at least offer that to them. DoorDash, Grubhub, whatever it is, they pitch in a seminar setting to everybody that's interested. And then from there, you have a follow-up for each one that's interested in having the follow-up, because, I kind of listening to Craig, I'm worried, I'd be concerned about focusing on one avenue, but the end result may be, if they're offering the best product and the local product and the best price, would it be advantageous to do that, where your push isn't this product, your push is the region should be focusing on delivery during this COVID and beyond. So we come out really pushing the delivery and then give the details to the various options that are available for the different delivery platforms. And what may end up coming at the end is this local provider is the preferred choice. So I'm just going to mention that as maybe a different approach, a slower approach, but one that may achieve the same result without causing what may be construed as favoritism or, those kind of things. So just throw that out for thoughts.
Thanks, David. Leanne?
I was just going to mention that they've done that in Mystic over at the Mystic Village. One of the restaurants over there has igloos outside.
Yeah.
So you do have it
Yeah.
locally.
To find out about what they cost.
Yeah.
Justin?
But David, in reference to what you were saying, every restaurant owner has been approached by Uber Eats, DoorDash, and Grubhub, and been approached by all three and have already pitched their ideas. And I was not happy about it, but I was in the middle of typing up my menu for Grubhub when I looked at my email and I saw my email from Paige about this company in Old Saybrook. but every restaurant knows what those three services already provide because they've all have been called on several occasions. So they've already done their pitch. They just did it in a very poor way.
I think, as I understand Dave's point, is that you always like to bring in more than one, so you're not condoning
Yes.
one. The other, but what I also hear from your side is the national chains have marketing budgets, salespeople, whatever. The smaller companies don't. If we do it the right way, I'm not trying to, as I've prefaced that, we're not promoting this one individual business. It's just getting the information out to me. Here's an
Yes.
You're
as
not
Susan said,
endorsing
just
any.
disseminating information.
The point is well taken. I'm just trying to, sometimes we just have to go forward and do things and let the businesses help out. Igloo's great idea. I'm sure they cost a lot of money. That's a business decision.
I'd love to do it.
I'm not-
My wife said, will the commission pay for ours?
That'd be cool.
Bill, you're saying we don't want to endorse anyone. I think you could make a very clear disclaimer of some sort. So I think that would be, simple enough.
I did that when we had the Zoom meeting with the people for the paper, the alternative.
Yes.
I made that preface right up front when we did it. We're not here to do anything except get information out. That's the disclaimer.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay, so we'll move
Public
forward with that.
awareness.
Justin, you get as much feedback, and I'll be in touch
Yes.
with Paige and Orange and such to make sure that we're getting the emails out, and we will report back at our next meeting. And if we need volunteers to help out on this, we will reach out to all you guys, because we might have follow-ups that we might want to do on it. So, all right, down to new business.
Bill, can I ask one question?
Sure.
Do we know anyone at Economic Development in Stonington?
Yes.
Can someone send me an email address for one of them?
I think
Or-
I'll have Paige
contact.
We'll do EDC to eat. Paige has his counterpart over there. Correct, Paige? He's muted. He doesn't.
Yeah, I think Paige should be communicating.
Susan Cullen, she actually used to work in our division up until a
Right.
few months ago. So
Yeah, I know Sue. Yeah. Okay.
Very good. Okay, new business. It's kind of continuation, which we're going to be working on. Paul was looking to get feedback from all. I know that he hasn't gotten, the last conversation I had before he left, hadn't gotten anything back from other commissioners on our 2021 goals. I would encourage you to relay anything over to him. We don't really have anything to discuss at this meeting, but keep it on our radar. I have started the way I approach things with a bullet point, which I'll have for the January of the annual report, and try to pull that all together. As I said, it's kind of a self-explanatory of what we've accomplished in the face of COVID and such, and what we're looking to do. And the one piece of that, which is more on the chair report, is the forums are going to be the key to it. And my only hope is eventually maybe the first one we have to do is a Zoom, but that we can at some point during the year get back to the face-to-face ones with the advent of vaccines and such. And I'm just trying to be optimistic there, because I think that's a better venue for conversations amongst people. But I think that's the way to go, is we need to be constantly building our outreach to business. And it's not just, right now it's restaurants, but it's not just restaurants. There's a post-COVID economy that's going to come. And we have to kind of be addressing that. And some of the stuff that Sam's worked on with our vendor is it goes across all business lines. I think a lot of the first topic was the social marketing and using the way people really are reaching out these days. In fact, I had a conversation with one of our marketers at the bank, and they were talking about a mailer, and I just like, I know how mail is for me. You give me a postcard, it goes in the garbage, and I don't even take the time to look at it, but I do know for social media and such that I'm on with, this stuff that pops up continually, eventually I was like, hey, that's interesting. So it's just a new way of looking at things. And I think we owe it to the businesses to try to take the blinders off and try to give them some different approaches to bringing in business. So that's really how I see it going forward. We'll firm up that's kind of the first one, and we'll firm up what the other 3 will be for the year, working with staff, because sometimes the topics come up, because of something else we're dealing with. So that's all I have on that. And with that, I'm going to go to staff report and give it to Paige.
Okay. Caught me off guard.
Yeah, I try.
So everyone has the report. For the past few months, we've talked about COVID. There's always something. Good news, we did receive we've been awarded $150,000 in CDBG COVID funds. In all honesty, your first discussions with the state were early summer about this opportunity, and we just received the notification. We've yet to receive a contract, and we're pushing. We need this money sooner rather than later. It would be for PPE stockpiling, be kept at the former Fitch Middle School in a classroom, and would be distributed not only for government use, but for business use as well. It's not the first line of supplies. We're expecting people to still try to acquire their own, but in the event that they cannot, or it's cost prohibitive, it'd be nice to have this local supply. So that's the idea. We don't have all the kinks worked out yet, but it's just nice to know we have the funding coming, and we're going to expedite ordering the supplies to have them here in Groton. Nava Retail, the 3rd round of business surveys will occur in this month, in December. And Sam has been working with Nava Retail and preparing for that. More marketing. As you know, I've talked in the past about the ICSC, and Sam and I have always attended the Boston, Hartford, and New York conferences. Typically, we would go to New York in December. Clearly, we're not going this year, but instead, we are participating in what they call the Recon New York, and it's a 2-day event, December 9th and 10th. We'll have a virtual booth opposed to the physical booth. So we'll see how that goes. We have a track record with them now. We have some tenure. So the idea is that the Groton name continues to resonate with investors. We also are having an article come out in the Business Facilities magazine this month that will promote and spotlight Groton. The last thing I'd say is we did attend, I went with the town manager on November 16th. A new business did open, Progression Training, at 250 Leonard Drive, indoor, very small recreation facility, targeting training and coaching for basketball and other indoor sports. The Economic Assistance Fund request for 3 Water Street, which you're quite familiar with. You had supported that. It did go before the cow, and actually Tuesday night, town council did approve it. So it is final and has been awarded as recommended by the staff and the EDC. Mystic Parking Study, second meeting was held on that with the committee, and there was a focus on what the priorities are. That's really important because a lot of people think that the answer is just build more facilities, build a parking garage, but the charge of the consultant is to really evaluate what do we have, what are our peak demands, how do we partner and work with our existing available assets. One of the likely scenarios will be how we're going to actually promote short-term parking, more turnover of the parking, case in point, on-street parking. We don't want people parking on street all day long. We need to get that turnover. That is going to be something I'm sure is going to be a strong recommendation of the report. It will involve how we're going to address some of the enforcement. So we're not there yet, but I see it heading in that direction. Wayfinding sign implementation, you see that project pop up here and there. We are hoping to have some initial signs in the ground by spring. As the report states, we're targeting Route 117 from I-95 to Route 1 as an important segment with a key gateway sign right at that intersection. We're also focusing on downtown Mystic. This is the first phase of the project. We will be asking for additional funding from the council and the RTM. But this initial phase with $50,000 will be kind of a sampling of what we envision townwide. Mystic Education Center or Mystic River Bluffs, we've actually had a lot of momentum on that lately. There was an update to the COW on November 10th. Also, there's an approved town council short-term tax agreement. Basically, that's on the front end of the development, just so once they acquire the property, they're not hit with a huge tax bill until they actually start doing some construction. The zoning draft for that district was provided to the Planning and Zoning Commission on November 17th. That was a long meeting, a lot of discussion, but we need to get that draft approved so the project can move forward. There was a small tour on November 21st with many RTM members and a couple council members, so they can get a sense for the size of the property, what the condition of these buildings are, and what the Pratt building looks like, its current condition. Right now, the consultant's doing cost estimating for the Pratt building based on some certain assumptions, and that cost estimating will be built, or the results of the estimating will be built into the TIF budget later on. Groton Heights, there was an update to the town council on November 11th, pretty much in the same situation we've been for a while, but we're hopeful that that will get more momentum moving forward into 2021. Gold Star Highway, the COW addressed the future hearing for that on November 10th. That hearing has actually been established for February, but I will say there will be more information provided to the COW, I believe, in January relative to a sales agreement for that property. Sealy School, also now the project's called Triton Square. There was a short-term tax agreement approved on November 11th. That project probably has the greatest momentum right now, involving roughly 300 units, and a closing is actually anticipated quite shortly on that project. That's probably going to be the first one that comes out of the pipeline of the existing excess school properties. Colonel Ledyard School, we do have a draft purchase and sale agreement, and that will be forwarded to the COW shortly. The council actually established a public hearing for the disposition of that property Tuesday night. I believe the hearing is going to be in February. The last project is Pleasant Valley. We did receive several proposals regarding that development. We'll have our review committee meet in December and probably begin our interviews of shortlisted candidates sometime in January. So all of these former school properties are moving forward. Some are moving quicker than others, but they're all advancing, which is great news. Collectively, we're getting a lot more exposure to investors, and we have more school properties coming in the future. So many of the developers who are interested in other school properties, maybe they were not successful, they stay in the loop and they want to know what the new projects are. The last thing I think I'd touch on, we've been adding the unemployment data. You'll see that table. We're heading in the right direction. Obviously, we would like to do better, but right now, Groton's unemployment, the most up-to-date information is October. We're down to 6%. It's not the mid 3% that we experienced late winter of 2020, but I think it's far better than the high. The high we had was 12.6% in May. So we've cut that in half and certainly heading in the right direction. Thank you.
Thanks, Paige.
Can I
Great.
have two quick questions for Paige.
Yep.
Paige, can you remind me what 3 Water Street is going to be? And does the new building next to SIFT have its own parking off street?
So that's one and the same project. 3 Water Street, the name of the project is The Standard. It's a mixed use development that contains, I believe, roughly a dozen residential condos. Feel free to correct me, Sam, if
There's
I'm off.
11, I think there's 11 Page.
Okay. And there'll also be some offices that are within that building and some small scale retail. Regarding parking, there is parking on the ground level under the building, mainly as a result of the floodplain regulations. They cannot finished floors or any occupancy at ground level. So they're using that for parking. Does it satisfy all of the parking? No, but as with many of the businesses in the area, they do have relationships with the Mystic Museum of Art's parking facility,
which is already overfilled.
I think there are discussions regarding restriping, and I don't know the number offhand, but there is a belief that they could, through reconfiguration or restriping, gain a significant number of more parking spaces in that lot.
Not a reality. I worked there.
Okay.
Just a question, no, a comment. Those condos, I looked into it a little bit just out of curiosity, and they're going for, I don't know if they're all the same, but they're like 675,000. I don't know if they've got some pre-sold. Is there any information about that? It's a pretty significant price. Maybe Leanne knows. I'm like 300, I could do one, but not 675,000. Wow.
Sam and I actually were there maybe 6 weeks ago or so, and were able to get a tour. And you're right, most of the units are already under contract. There may be 1 or 2 that were not yet spoken for, and gorgeous views, as you can imagine.
It's got to be a lot of out of towners,
I don't have
right?
a sheet per se, but we received that information firsthand from the developer.
Interesting. Well, it's good to have information about it, but I assume they went quickly, and the price is crazy. But I'm sure there's a lot of money out there somewhere.
And Paige, Julie, they're not paying for our igloos. My wife was like, "Will they pay for our igloos?"
No.
Paige, yeah, I know.
Should have sent the picture.
God, you made me forget my question.
Sorry, I apologize.
Go on.
Thank you. Moving on. Liaison reports. I'm going to start with Leanne.
Well, hello there.
Hello.
I'm just here mostly to listen tonight, but I do think that that the council stays very supportive of your group and very supportive of what Paige and John and all of them are doing with the school buildings. Very excited to look towards the ones for Pleasant Valley. We did have a mention the other night, though, Paige, I was going to share with you, is that the security up at Groton Heights needs to be looked into. I don't know if anybody mentioned to you or not, but we had a call in when we were doing a Zoom meeting the other night. We had a public hearing, and one of the people that talked with us said that the kids were breaking into the building, and there was a graffiti and damage being done. So I thought you might want to get in touch with the gentleman that hopes to buy it. and see if we can get it buttoned up a little bit more.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. But other than that, you know, when the group of us ran, one of our things was to get the schools on the tax rolls, and everything we've done is to try to make that happen, or a good part, you know, but we've got excellent people to work with. So we're very appreciative of Paige and John, and we're very appreciative of what you all do. And if the council can do more, let us know.
You have a connection on the council with Leanne.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So,
Thank you, Leanne. Adam.
Hey, everybody.
Hey.
Good to see you. I submitted my report, but the one thing I'll touch on, I didn't really elaborate too much under joint land use study. Under the Navy Manpower Training and Personnel Group, looking for options for housing Columbia pre-commission unit sailors. That's turning into actually a well-funded study that's going to reach out to the town. So Paige probably specifically will be talking to you. We've been kind of riding this the whole time from the subbase level, even though subbase isn't currently responsible for housing sailors that work on submarines while they're at EB. We are engaged, and we've gotten kind of a high level clearance to just ride that process out. And they're very receptive to working with the town and with the subbase in mind as well. So that's exciting. That's going to be a study funded by the Columbia Submarine Program, and they're going to look at all alternatives and really listen to us when we say what we think will work and what you think will work. So I'm excited about that, and we'll hear more about that in after the first of the year. I think February they'll have an award to a contractor who will then reach out to us directly from there. That's about all I have.
Hey, Adam, just curiosity, how many personnel are you talking that they're going to have to find housing for? I mean, is it an ongoing thing as they're rolling new subs out?
Right. It's ongoing. It's a cyclical need. And it's actually, they're incorporating the current Virginia pre-commission unit sailors as well. So right now there's, I don't know, there's, I think 300 sailors at any given time that currently Electric Boat houses as part of this shipbuilding contract. But that's pretty expensive. And when you plus that up to 2 crews per Columbia submarine, now you've got, 450 people. If you're pushing that all through the submarine building contract, it's going to cost the federal government, probably too much. And they're just reassessing the entire paradigm for how they house those folks. So it's significant. The Navy did a kind of a offshoot of the joint land use housing study. They did a study of local availability that had a lot of limitations, but they identified a shortfall of 250 to 300 apartments for this group of sailors, given the time frames that they're here and how that gets processed. So it's good. I think it's the opportunity to bring that home and maybe tie in with what you're doing with the school building renovations and privatization. All that could probably weigh into this. And I think the time frame is far enough out that some of those planning and discussions can happen now and have time to develop.
Paige.
Although the study will be launched, you said in early 2021, is there any request in writing that could be provided by the Navy, particularly as we're doing reviews of proposals for the Pleasant Valley School? Anything at all, I think, would be helpful as we're doing our review and speaking with our shortlisted developers. If they knew there's a minimum demand of X for this type of tenant, I actually think that would help the town, and obviously it would provide units for the Navy.
Let me look into that page.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll see what we can pull out. There are some numbers from that internal Navy study citing a shortfall, so that may help. I think once this contractor reaches out, there's going to be stuff out in the public as well. So they're going to end up with a recommended course of action at the end of the day as well. But I'll see what I can do, Paige, about pulling that sum in. You're saying sooner, right? Sooner than later.
Well, not this month, but early 2021 would be helpful.
Okay, we'll do. Let's talk more about that for sure.
Great.
Just, just to share with you on the realtor side of that, I got a call from apparently a very large construction company that's moving into this area, our area, and they're looking for 600 units so that they can bring their workers up here. And I told them,
We should tie it all together because they're looking for units. So people, that's where people live, but they're also consumers.
Right.
So
absolutely.
it's really what we've been focused on since I've been on the commission of we want to bring people to live here and not kind of work here and leave. But then we also have to provide them with the services they're looking for. So I think it helps everyone to have a better understanding of what the true numbers are. So.
And a place to live.
Yeah, place to live, but you also have the place to eat. You need a place to do your walk, all the different things that go into it as a community. So,
the only thing that we don't have is builders. We lost all our major builders in the 80s when everything just went down, and most of the builders lost everything that they had. And we haven't been able to get any of them back in. And my son's trying to do a small complex, and the money's tied. It's hard to get the banks. Sorry, Bill, but it's
no. Hey,
hard to get the banks.
They all went under business because they overextended. So I hear you, and that's all part of the. I'll tell you, I have those conversations with my bank, and they are starting to look at what's going on here more and more. Because of Pfizer, because of the submarine. So you give a bank a reason to lend, and where they're going to, try to make, they will lend. So all this stuff it's very important that this information is out there from our standpoint. So
something.
I hear you.
I would suggest, I don't know, might be just a little too, but I think it would be good if your commission had a meeting with the Builders Association and just talk to them about the need in Groton and see if you can entice a few of them to get much more involved and start looking for land.
Good idea.
Just an idea, but
every idea is a good idea. Till you prove to be not, but
it would probably. And then you'd have even more strength to talk to your bank, and other banks could see that this is dependent on them, because builders aren't going to. A lot of the builders I worked with used to get to the point that they'd go for hard money. You're familiar with that, Bill, but that's so expensive, and so much pressure comes back to you from those lenders. So we need to. All of us need to reestablish those relationships with the banks and get them behind the builders.
They will get behind anyone that can show us a track record and a way of paying us. All we care about is being paid back.
That's the problem. There's no track records.
Right, that's the
these are going
problem.
to be all new people,
Just to
One
go
or two houses, and now they're thinking about doing a subdivision, and you go, "Are you crazy?"
Jill.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leanne. Jill?
Hi. So the RTM did not meet in November, but we did meet in October, and I missed the November meeting, so I'll catch you up on that. The RTM agreed to allocate $12,500 of capital reserve funds to the Fish Athletic Fields for resurfacing a tennis court pathway that the Board of Ed went over budget on. So that was the main thing. And since Paul isn't here tonight, I'll update you. Pfizer is doing a holiday light event, December 12th and 13th from 5 to 9 p.m. That they are just doing it as kind of a give back to Groton. So if anybody's interested in attending, the information's out there. I know it's on the city website. I haven't seen it someplace else, but I know it's on the city website. So I'd love everybody to go.
Thanks, Jill. And last but not least, Aaron.
Thank you, Bill. I don't really have anything to add to my report. I submitted it, so you guys can go through that. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer anything. I can give you a sneak preview for next month. On Monday, we did have a celebration, or a virtual celebration, with the Department of Public Health. So the DPH, the City of Groton, and Groton Utilities kind of celebrated our the going live, so to speak, of the new water treatment facility. So we did that on Monday. What really stood out to me, I think, was just how important that project was to the state, to the DPH, to obviously Groton, and to southeastern Connecticut. But that's more next month.
Very good. Thank you very much, Aaron. Okay, any other business to come before the commission?
I just wanted to bring up, we talked about, I don't know, 3 meetings ago. Actually, I think it was Paul and Justin, but I know Paul McGurk had brought up the whole Airbnb. Is there any sort of progress or anything going on in terms of the planning and zoning? Do we know? I mean, I know we're the commission, we're not necessarily connected to what they're working on. Is there any information about that? Perhaps Paige knows.
I will make a brief comment on that, but it's possible Leanne has additional comments. I know that the town council, it's on their radar. They had a lengthy conversation at the Cow, and I believe there's going to be a committee that is going to continue to look at the situation and make recommendations over time. Leanne, do you have more details?
I'm sorry, I turned and listened to somebody else. Susan, what was your question?
It was
Oh my God.
the Airbnb, you know, that came up a couple of meetings ago. And just a question about what's going on with that and planning and zoning. And Paige just mentioned the Cow had a lengthy meeting, and then there was a committee set up. I'd be curious to know who's on the committee. You know, I'd like to know that that's whatever's happening, that we're sort of aware of it.
Yeah, well, actually, the mayor, Patrice, is head of the committee, and they have been meeting, and they recently put out a report as to where they are so far. Paige, I'm sure you could get that from Patrice, because there is a real concern that, you know, right now it's not a problem, but it will be in the future as we get healthier in this area. And they are trying to come up with things, but I think that Keith Hedrick, the mayor in the city, really puts it in perspective of what you don't think about. Is if we make a rule for the house next door, that same rule is on you. So if you decide that you can't do something, let's say you can't have a party past 9 o'clock, well, that means you can't have a party past 9 o'clock. So we're trying to balance everything so that what we do come up with is not going to affect the neighbors badly. We're trying to make it so it's better for them. So it's kind of, but they definitely are putting time into it, trying to come up with some good recommendations. And I know that there's good cooperation between the city and the town on looking at this. And I think you'll see something in the near future coming back for a presentation to the public.
I would think that they're drawing from other communities that have, you know, it's prevalent in terms of Airbnbs. And I think obviously there has to be some frame of regulations, but flexible, but, you know, to be taking everything into consideration for all communities and all neighbors. And, you know, so I'm sure that committee is working on looking at that, as well as, like I said, not reinventing the wheel.
Well, you know, you have to invent the wheel, because there is no place out there that's really created anything that you could look at and just say, oh, well, we could use this because everybody's having the same problem.
Yeah, I know. It's a somewhat new
Yeah,
idea. And of course, Groton Long Point has been doing rentals forever, but it's not the same thing. So thanks, Leanne.
but we'll be working on it.
Paige, if you can get if there's something that you can update us with from Patrice, from the, that subcommittee, just have Lauren include it. And I'd be happy
We'll
to
get
discuss it.
We'll get a copy of the report distributed to the EDC.
Perfect. Yep. That's how we kind of left it. Is anything that
Thank
comes
you.
up, I'm happy to keep it on our radar.
Right. Good to be informed.
Justin.
Leanne, I believe the last email I got, newsletter I got from the EDC mentioned that, and Paige, tell me if I'm wrong, that EB is going to double in size in the next
Correct.
5 years.
That's the prediction.
So I agree with you. Getting like all the builders together, all the building companies together is a very smart idea.
Oh, thank you.
All the big developers. I think that's smart.
Well, they meet regularly, and I could probably make arrangements for Paige and myself to go to one of their meetings and just get to, or we could talk with the president of the association. I think David Precker is still very active in that group. So
No, I completely back your idea on that. I think that's brilliant.
thank you. Gee, that's the only time I've heard that.
And from that respect, anything that I can get involved with it, I'm happy from a EDC banking perspective to give my input on it, because those are like next phases of things. You know, we've been focused on COVID so much, we've kind of lost a little bit of the big picture
Absolutely.
that we started.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Any other business? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make the motion.
Good to see you guys.
Good to see you,
Bye
Leanne.
now.
Bye.
Second.
Bye,
Thank you,
Sam.
everyone.
All in favor?
See everybody.
All in favor?
Bye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you,
Thanks,
guys.
Paige and Lauren
Thank you all.
and Sam.
Take care.